Hey guys, welcome back to Retire by 40. This is a video that's part update and also part breakdown. So a while ago I made a video about dividend investing and how important it is and really the snowball effect with dividend reinvesting and how starting early can make you a lot of money in the end with dividend investing and dividends in general. So this video is about how much I make per year currently with my portfolio just in dividends. A little heads up though, so for right now, I'm not making a lot of money off dividends. It's actually pretty low, and that's also to be expected because I'm just starting out investing and also investing in dividends. So, a quick summary of my investment history. I started investing about 2 years ago. Now, I did have some investing experience because when I was in high school, me and a group of friends started doing a mock investing competition. I forgot what website it was, but it was a really nice introduction into the world of investing. I lost a lot of money, but it wasn't money that was real. So it allowed me to learn without being burned and just without losing money and going into debt and stuff. Fast forward though, a couple years, and a close group of friends that I have now start getting into crypto. And they got really into crypto. They were doing technical analysis, and it was always interesting to hear what they were saying. Now, of course, now knowing what I know about technical analysis, fundamental analysis, and all that jazz, I have come to the conclusion of really just letting the market do its thing. It's all random. Don't really sweat it. Don't overanalyze things. Just invest, and sooner or later you're gonna make profit. Take the profit when you can, and don't get greedy. Right? Those are really my principles. I don't do technical analysis. I don't do fundamental analysis. Anyways, so I have been investing for 2 years, but I do have a little bit more experience outside of that, doing mock investing and just listening to other people talk about investing in general. However, those 2 years hasn't let me to build a portfolio that has enough money to be able to have a dividend portfolio or a dividend partition in my portfolio that's making a lot of money. Because if you don't know, dividend investing is pretty powerful, but it's also very slow. So in the beginning, you're not going to be making a lot of money. You have to have a lot of money invested in particular companies to be able to make a lot of money in dividends. Of course, there are different companies like Apple versus like an ETF that's specifically targeted for dividend investors that have different yields. So you can kind of pick and choose your loss tolerance with the higher dividend yields and the lower dividend yield having stocks, but being more relatively safe. You kind of have to balance the two. But even when you pick high dividend valued stocks, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be making a lot of money just in dividends because it's still pretty low, especially when you get these returns every 4 months or 3 months. I'm sorry, every quarter. Maybe there's some companies that do it every month, I believe. But even then, it's hard to make money off dividends if you don't have a lot of money to invest in general. Having said that, I do have one rule with how I'm going to be tallying or totaling up all the companies that do give me dividends. I'm sure you guys, if you do some day trading, have gotten dividends here and there. I do not count those. And the main reason I don't count those is because they're not consistent. I'm not going to be getting them every quarter. I'm not going to be getting them every year, etc., etc. I'm only counting the stocks that I plan on holding for a long time and that I have been holding for a long time into the total of how much dividends I get paid. All other dividends that I do receive, I don't count because those are not consistent. Anyways, without further ado, on a yearly basis, I get about $181 in dividends from all the companies that do pay dividends, and like I said, the ones that I hold for a long time. And in total, that is about $16,000 worth of investments. So, like I was saying, $16,000, right? That seems like a lot of money to me. That amount of money will only get you about $181 of dividends. So you might be saying, well, that just doesn't sound good to me, right? But you got to think, it's all about snowballing because if you do dividend reinvesting, it means you're going to be buying back into a particular company. And right now, of course, I agree with you, it just doesn't look good. But in the future, when you have all of these allocations, because I'm going to be continuing to invest in these companies, right? And then with the dividend reinvesting, it's going to be continuously buying me stuff every quarter or whenever I get dividends, essentially. And it's going to keep snowballing like that. It is exactly like interests based savings accounts or CD accounts, but you also have the added benefit of the company or the underlying stock also going up in value, which is really why I stress that dividend investing is really for the future. It is not for the current time. It is not for the now. It is for the later. And for me personally, it's going to be a little bit more of a retirement spending money investment. Or in other words, when I retire, I'm going to be using dividend returns as spending money, right? Because I do foresee in a couple years when I do retire by 40, right? I'm going to be in a situation where my dividend portfolio will be making enough money where I can use it to pay off anything that I want for a year. So what does next year look for me in terms of dividend returns? I like to aim high for my projections, so I'm kind of aiming for about $480 of dividend returns by the end of the next year. That is with a target of getting or buying about 200 Apple shares and about 50 shares of TSM, which is another one of my favorite tech companies. I also plan on increasing my contributions to my ESPP account, which just means that I'm going to be buying more stock for the company I work for. The company I work for actually pays a decent percentage it has a decent yield for dividends. And without giving away too much, I do plan on increasing the buying of shares for my company because it does pay off pretty handsomely in the dividends, and it's probably the one that's making more dividends for me. As for right now, I have about 67 shares of Apple and I have about 18 shares of TSM that I have been holding. I haven't sold them and I don't plan on selling them. Like I said, I only consider the companies I am buying and holding into these calculations. I will be providing screenshots throughout the video of this cool app that I found. It allows you to set a particular amount of shares that you have for a particular company, and if they have a dividend, for example, it calculates all the dividends you will be getting for that year and then totals all of them up. So in my case, like we'll take Apple and TSM that I have, it tallies up the total stock that I have put in and then tallies the dividends and calculates it for you, so you don't have to work with Excel or really work with like any online tool. It's a pretty cool app, and if you have iOS, you can download it. I didn't create it. I don't even know who created it, but it's a pretty cool app that is worth checking out if you like dividend investing. Anyways, in summary, if you got anything out of this, is that dividend investing is definitely not a get rich quick scheme. You will probably not be making a lot of money in the first couple years, but once you snowball in, you wait a couple years, you will be having enough money that you're gonna just be living off dividends. And that's really good, right? You want to live off passive income because you don't want to tap into the money that you have saving, because if you can avoid it, then you shouldn't have to. Anyways, that's where I am going to leave it. Hopefully by the end of the next year, I do reach my $485 target and then just continue snowballing from there with drip. All right, guys. See ya.